in time the contractor says they still are meeting the guidelines of their contract. But we sort of play that base by base. I'm sure everyone will work with us if, I'm just going off of the quick response we received.
This is for the fireworks?
Yes. Yes, that also comes out of the hot funds.
And
so
how much is that?
$10,000. We were hoping $5,000, which was already budgeted, and then we were going to sponsorships. But at this point in time, with the extreme burden on our local businesses and, just the current total economy, we'll just need to wait and see for that. Future projects I listed on here: Parks Master Plan through the Friends of the Park. It's on. The grant was given to the Friends of the Park. It encompasses all of Parks and Recreation. This was a huge thing. We'll have more information on it, but the funding source, of course, has asked us to hold off on any press releases. But that will be at no cost to the city, and I hope all of y'all will understand how great of an opportunity this is. And I'll be providing you more information on that when the time comes. Opening of the park, I'm looking to open up the bathrooms because people aren't stopping using them, and it's creating a really, really hard time for my guys maintenance-wise. They're spending hours trying to keep these clean because people are going in and not just using them, but using them and something happens, and we don't have people necessarily looking after them as much. So I would like to try to follow through with some of the guidelines that other entities are using and or the governor's outline on that too.
And your usage may have tripled.
Yes, and I do not use that lightly. Councilman, Ms. Darren, I'm sure y'all have seen, we've just had an explosion of people, and I know the chief has his officers going through there quite a bit, and I try to have my guys keep in watch, but it's so awesome to see that people are actually, and yes, they are following the social distancing protocols, but they are enjoying our park, and that should be a huge, thing of enjoyment on our part to see, this many people coming out.
And I'm interrupting as the emergency manager. Please be aware, though, that we did do the assurances with the governor's orders, and if they aren't using restrooms or tables, correct?
No, ma'am, they are not.
But we're talking about opening up the restrooms, which would not be.
Hopefully based on the standards.
No, he said it's triple the use of the park. So I'm just wondering, where would they be going? Are they using the tables or?
No, ma'am. We have a lot of signs out, and everyone is basically, we have a handful of people that stop at the tables, which we try to get them moving along, but they follow, they bring their own little blankets to sit out. They fish along the edge of the river. They, keep themselves busy. Most of it's walking and fitness.
Yeah, and this is again with emergency management, with the governor's orders. Not only, and I applaud you for being able to do the 6 feet distancing, but anything that hands touch cannot be done. That's why the library, and that seems kind of absurd to me, is able to open, but they can't use the computers because they're touching, the equipment. So I assume that you would know more than I about the disinfectant procedures if they were to use the table or the pavilion or touch it or whatever. I just want to be sure we're following the guidelines, that's all.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then, of course, I would like to suggest that we look at opening the reservation to the RV park. With as many people coming in through the park, we really don't stop people from coming. And what this is just continue to allow, as y'all know, my park's revenue is highly dependent upon this. But then also, I have had nothing but compliments on us from the RV guests on how we're handling their cleaning of the facilities. We pride ourselves on one of the cleanest RV bathrooms and laundry facilities, but also on, most of these people are already, they're just working or they're on vacation or snowbirds. And so, of course, with the guidelines or approval by the city administrator or council, we would continue to close that. But based on a lot of reports I've seen, no one's really closing those. And then also on bathrooms, rooms, as long as they say that you can keep a sanitary timeline on cleaning the facilities, then you can have them open. So that would be something that we would look into just to make sure that because it doesn't matter if we have them open or not, people are going to use them. We don't have the ability to have gates. Unfortunately, our park is not made for that. And so people just get over our gates that are currently up, and they ruin the facility. And so basically that's my update on our parks projects. And then,
I
of
need
course,
to add again, as emergency manager, and I'm so sorry, and we have Mr. Trevino here, in the executive orders, it also asks that in residence or take over a hotel, for example, something for people to stay in, they have to follow a checklist again also to assure us that they do not have any symptoms of the disease and have not traveled to Colorado, I forgot, Washington or something else. So I assume that would have to be done for the RV park. I don't think we even have a list of the people.
Right. So from what I'm understanding from Devin is that, following the guidelines, issued by the governor, he's looking to reopen the RV park. Devin, do I have that correct?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Because based on my understanding of the current guidelines, it doesn't even state that they had to be closed. Most of the stuff that was closed by the state of Texas was because that falls under federal or state guidelines. And not to say that it wasn't a good idea for us to close it down, because I think it was, but I would like to see us try to open it. That way we could also...
Devin?
Yes, ma'am.
Devin, council passed that, I don't guess they didn't read it, but they passed that amendment to the orders. And the recent orders that we discussed with the county, they do require that if you do have the people residing, I don't know if that's the correct word, I can double check with the county, that we do need to know, they do the checklist. I guess we can't force them to sign anything, but we do need to know if they're from any of those areas and if they've been exposed.
Absolutely. I'm against nothing to do with the safety of our citizens and the park, as long as it meets, of course, legal guidance from our attorneys. I'm 100% for whatever parameters we need to in place. If the attorney could advise us, or the city administrator, that way we can do this correctly, along with the help of any other parts of our local government.
Devin, can you clarify?
And I'd just like to add something right now. I got an update on the total confirmed cases as of now. Total confirmed, that's not just active, total confirmed were up. We're up to 45, so I assume that's probably with the Hondo jail. I don't know if that's going to affect the parameters of reopening things or not. Perhaps our attorney can give us a little bit of information on that.
No, ma'am, not to my knowledge. The numbers that the city of Castroville has isn't currently impacted or impactful on the governor's order. So, as to all of these items, related to, reopening, the only thing that I can tell you from the legal standpoint is that, we are required to follow the governor's orders, and to the extent that you all are monitoring and watching, and Devin is aware of these things, the city is in good shape and in compliance with the governor's orders.
And it does say in the end of the governor's orders that is included in their packet that the parameters, if the cases go up or down for the county, not the city. That's what I understood with the orders, because we did that assurance.
Right. Sure, exactly. And the city of Castroville is not going to be, any different than either the county or the state, so that, if the county says fall back, then the cities are going to be required to fall back from any attempt to reopening, the same as the county would, be under the governor's order. So it sounds to me like y'all are in good shape and with a good plan.
Excellent.
Can I ask for one more
All right.
clarification, really quickly? So you were talking about, you had mentioned opening the restrooms that are the common restrooms in the park because people are coming in and laying waste.
Yes.
So-
Of course, with what Ms. Trevino said and the mayor, if it meets the guidelines that we can provide a sanitary facility and we do not go outside of the county and the state's recommendations, then we would, of course, probably bring that to the city administrator and the police chief and the mayor to that we do open the facilities.
Are they, but you said they're not closed off because we can't close them off, is that correct?
We have them closed off with a construction fence. Unfortunately, that's the best these parks are made for. I
Right.
mean, that's the average kind of thing to set it aside. But, and I hate to say it, but when you got to go, you got to go.
Right.
And
So basically, you're just asking if we can clean them and,
yeah, I mean, even with the ability for them to be open, we would be able to keep them clean because, if someone needs to go and my guys haven't cleaned it because they're shut down, and that could be a spot where we spread or we have, I mean, there's plenty of other illnesses that can be created by that kind of entity, or that, of course, the defecation of the bathrooms.
Yes.
Yep.
Condition.
Related to, I think the bathroom should be opened. We have these signs out, no playing in the fields, no tennis courts, no picnicking, except you go there and you see people with barbecue pits and they're out barbecuing. They're meeting family groups or they're meeting as individuals because a bunch of, teenagers out there not social distancing. So to me, it's like only the people who are obeying the laws are obeying those signs, but then the other people who are not and just ignore them. And I've always felt funny about putting signs up and trying to say something and not enforce it. But do your people go down there and tell people, hey, you really can't be barbecuing here, or who's allowing all that?
Yeah, I would say other than the weekends where I'm very light staffed because of course we're off, PD and my guys and myself go around and we let people know, and they're usually very upfront about it. We've posted signs, we've offered, occasionally there's going to be people that are going to be upset because I saw last week people just went back to their vehicle, opened the tailgate of their truck and ate lunch there.
Yeah.
But they still want to be there for a reason. So it's sort of one of those things. There's no way to control it completely, but with PD's help and us, we've been trying to hit it. And
Well, because my wife and I walk our dogs down there daily, almost every day, and this isn't on the weekends. It's and you see these violations going on, and it's sometimes you feel sorry because you want to allow the people to go out and do this, but the rule is we've shut down our park because we've shut down the park. But is it time to open up the park? I don't know. I know what you all signed for last council meeting is that the library can be opened, the park can be opened. The Steinbach House can be opened. The RV park can be opened. Who makes those decisions to open? Is that the city administrator? Is that council? Because
No,
the council.
sir, Mr. King, Councilman King, we are in a declared pandemic. So I am the emergency manager and I have appointed Chief Jackson as the emergency coordinator, and by law, Chief and his force would be the ones to actually enforce anything that is enforceable. And given the fact that the police doesn't have that large of a staff, I imagine you would have to work with Ms. Trevino to see how, if citations had to be given by park staff, which I really don't think we could.
Mayor, no, I'm not saying citations. I'm saying the document you signed at the last meeting, the declaration that you all signed at the last council meeting, the ordinance that you signed on the 28th day of April 2020, that ordinance says in Exhibit A that the city library may be open as long as you're consistent with the it says all these things can be open, but who makes the decision to open them?
Councilman King, that's an exhibit. You need to look at the executive order, and that draws down from the executive order.
No, but these things say that in accordance to the executive order, it says City Hall, the lobby is closed temporarily. But this says all the things in the city, that's what the ordinance says. The ordinance says that this is what's going to happen. So it says that all these can be open, but at the last council meeting, I know the council talked about, well, let's not open up anything right now. But according to this executive order.
And I don't know why those are on there, quite frankly.
But you signed them.
I did not.
And the council voted on them.
And I didn't read it.
Well, the
I
council,
didn't read it.
yeah, I guess because this is the law now, this is our ordinance. It says that these can be opened. And can we open up the Steinbach house? Because this says it
Yes.
may. So who makes the decision to open them?
You do, but you have to abide by the rules.
City council based on the governor's orders.
We were following the governor's orders.
Right.
Right, so this says that we're following the governor's orders, so we can open up these facilities now, as long as we
If
follow
we
the
can
governor's
meet the
orders.
sanitary guidelines, right.
So, is there action, do we, because we've told staff this, city manager, we've told them this is what you guys can open now, so you need to open these things,
Or can.
including the park and everything. We've already said you can open it, so really it's throwing it out to you, I guess, to open it, and just follow the governor's
It's
order.
not a shall. Councilman King, it's not a shall. It's a can, I
That's right,
believe.
yeah.
Yeah, I just said that. They said we can open these things.
Yeah,
So-
so it's your decision.
No.
Yeah.
It was the governor's decision.
Right, so I'm going to jump in here because we're apologies, but we're kind of beating the dead horse here.
Yeah.
So the ordinance is consistent with the governor's orders.
Correct.
And to the extent that the RV park or anything else needs to be open, you know, the city's ordinance allows for it to be open under parameters, in compliance with the governor's orders. So that if that means, we need to ask some questions, are you COVID positive? Do you have symptoms? You're authorized to do those things. And so, the city just needs to, move forward with developing a plan on these are the things, these are going to be, those set parameters and, go ahead and proceed with opening, as directed by the ordinance. If current sitting council thinks that ordinance needs to be revisited, then my suggestion would be, let's call an emergency meeting to discuss the parameters of the emergency ordinance, and, and sit down with some really good thoughts about what and how does the city want to proceed with opening.
I guess the question, right now, the ordinance says that we can open up these facilities. That's what the ordinance says. So if the
Yes, sir.
current city council is in agreement that we can open up these facilities, they can be open, and we don't need an emergency meeting, correct?
No, sir, unless you feel like that ordinance needs to be changed.
No.
So if we don't feel it needs to be changed, it's okay just to open things.
Well, here's let me caveat on this. With my background and everything, the stickler is with us opening up, say, the park restrooms and that. We will need somebody stationed there constantly to go down and clean constantly after people go in and use the facilities. Same with the benches and stuff like that. We have to meet those parameters of the governor's order. And I don't know if we have the personnel to do that. That's what we've got to look at. That's why we were hesitant on opening up everything, is because who is going to go and constantly clean these areas after people use them? Because it's going to have to be a constant thing. Businesses have to do it constantly. I mean, I'm having to do it at True Values constantly. It's not a one-time thing in the morning and one time in the afternoon. It's going to be a constant after every user. That's what we've got to look at.
So we can, but we can't.
But what you're saying is that Devin, shaking his head, we cannot open the bathrooms because you don't have anybody who's going to constantly keep them clean.
To the parameter of cleaning after each individual, no.
Is that a parameter that is necessary to clean up after every individual? Because I'm not seeing that at,
Yes, sir.
I'm just saying.
You need to go to the department, the state Department of Health Services, and we are Region 13, I believe, and we have specific parameters for
Region 8.
disinfecting. Region 8, thank you, Sheena, Ms. Martinez. We have specific parameters for, even if we had for example, I'm throwing it out, for if we have personnel that we think could be, that are ill, we take their fever twice a day, all this sort of thing. But these are all, it's not in one document. These things have evolved out the declaration of the pandemic. So Ms. Martinez is correct. Businesses, I just urge you all go to the State Department of Health Services, and it has the protocols for opening up anything. It's got it listed under barbershop, nail salon, tanning, all that stuff. So that's simply all we have to do. We don't need to even, tax Devin with all this extra work if he could just, provide those guidelines.
I'd just like to say something, that if we do open up, it's going to really put a lot of stress onto the police and staff. I don't have enough officers to police the park by itself, because we'll be getting phone calls every 2 minutes that, hey, we just saw a group of people down here, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're all hanging out together. We get them now. But once we open a city facility, we're going to have to react to every one of those.
Right.
I don't have the staff, the personnel to do that right now.
Yeah, the ordinance says we can, but practically we can't right now. I knew that.
so Devin, can you still clean the restrooms even if they're not open?
Currently to the facilities that people are going and using, yes. We keep, my guys usually check them twice a week and they're closed, just if someone sneaks by us.
Gotcha.
Occasionally after weekends of long use, they come back and they are a disaster. So
They're a biohazard after one weekend.
yeah, I am completely on board with Chief withholding the bathrooms up until we're able to maintain them. I will like to say that we have a position that would cover that. Currently it's vacant, but at this point in time, I don't see any need to open it.
But the RV park, you can still support
Yes.
opening that?
That's a private use, and we keep that clean, and it's clean twice a day, every day.
So do you need council's approval to do that? Because I don't think we can do that here.
It's not
What is
on
that?
our agenda, but
Yeah.
For the bathroom there,
To open because I think that it has to be a,
We did everything like.
no action. There was no
But the
action.
So that-
ordinance, the
but we
city
would have to-
council sign said it can be open.
we adopted the governor's
The
guidelines, and
regional
if you can
park,
do
not
it,
the restrooms.
if you
no, he's
can-
talking about the
No,
RV
the
park.
RV park. It says the RV park may
Okay.
be
So the RV
reopened,
park could be open.
consistent with EO number.
I can't, I'm not, please don't think that I'm not presiding over this meeting correctly with rules of order, but I can't understand because there's so many people talking. So I'm just depending on you guys, okay? I just put in my pieces as emergency manager, and Chief did his as the coordinator. So it's, I'm just gonna let you guys go for it.
I guess in summary, the chief says it would be, and Devin agrees, we can't open up the park and police that. The RV park, Devin thinks you all, city staff can handle that. And the ordinance says it can be reopened. The next question, going down the list, is Steinbach House. We have an employee who's in the Steinbach House who could clean the restroom. You don't have a lot of people there, but it does open it up to visitors. Does it make sense to open up the Steinbach House? Because the ordinance says we can reopen it.
And we do have a service that comes in at night besides the person that's on duty.
Because there's always a person there on duty. So can you open up the Steinbach House? And if you want to think about that and get back to council at the next meeting,
Yeah,
think we can wait even until after the next order, which is on the 18th, the new governor's orders, let's wait on that, and we also come back and figure out what we actually can open. and
Yeah,
can't.
so I guess what I ask is this list here, because the other one is the library.
Right.
You know, you have staff at the library, so can the library open it? The ordinance says it can be opened.
We can open it
That
if we
would fall
can.
underneath the 25% of occupancy as far as the library.
And the Steinbach House.
Yeah, the only thing with the Steinbach house is, I would check with the employee if she's comfortable with it, because isn't she in that, one of those critical age ranges?
Not yet.
Not quite.
I don't believe she is.
And also, Councilwoman Martinez, that's a good thought, because she will also have to ensure social distancing inside that house. I don't know what the occupancy of it is. Does anyone know?
Well, she would be able to do that. Of course, we'll find out how many people could possibly be in there, but it would probably be easier to do the social distancing there than in some of the other buildings we have, because she will make sure that they can only come in a few at a time.
Because we must be mindful that the occupancy number is just a part of a formula, because depending on the square feet, you will not, even if it were something like 25 people occupancy, you have to ensure that the 6 feet distancing on all sides. So your actual number is not a relative 25%. You have to figure that part out too. So that's
Also, in that number, they have to include the employees there. It's just not people coming in.
Right.
right.
And a lot of people forget that part.
And most of the groups that attend the Steinbach House or visit the Steinbach House are family units anyway, and have traveled in the same vehicle to get there, so.
That's true.
We
And
can
usually
monitor
two
that
people.
one easier
Yeah.
than some.
Yeah. So the Steinbach House and Library, but I guess, so staff will come back to us next time and tell us, hey, we're going to open this tomorrow, this is how we're going to do it, or whatever.
We'll have new guidelines after the 18th, as people have said.
Or they might not change at all.
Or you might not change anything, that's true.
Right, so we'll revisit it. All right,
Thanks,
enough
Devin.
tangents, Devin.
Next up?
I think we're done with that subject, Mayor.
Can someone please summarize what you guys came up? I couldn't hear because there were too many people talking at the same time. It's not your fault, it's just
No action.
Summary is,
technology.
thank you for the
What was
information.
it? What are you doing?
No,
Is there a motion?
No action, no
No
take.
action taken.
No
No,
action
ma'am.
taken, the staff's going to revisit the subject with the council at the next meeting.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, we'll go to the next one. And this again, I
Devin
believe
again.
is Devin. My agenda is a mess. And you're going to update us on streets. And again, I just would like to mention that we did a 2017 street assessment that citizens have contacted me about, and they're concerned that that street assessment will be disregarded despite all the money that was spent on it. And I just am putting in that they would like that also considered, because the updates have a whole different type of reassessment that they understood. iWorks or something. Anyway, so it's all yours again, because I can't, distinguish different people.
Yeah.
So it's all yours, Devin.
Thank you, Mayor. The current assessment that we have, the 2017, the background on it was done by iWorks. iWorks is who does it. It's a software system that allows us to basically let us know where the roads are. It uses highly trained individuals that will go through our streets with a fine-tooth comb. Actually, on that topic, we are having that updated as of the 2019th. You're supposed to have it done every 3 years. To their documentation, it was done in 2016 and implemented in 2017. So we currently are a little behind on that. I wasn't here during that time, so I can't talk about the specifics to the project, but we are not throwing that aside at all. Actually, with the current technology that they have through our iWork system, it will allow us, and especially on my side, through algorithms that are beyond me, to set aside streets and priorities based on their level of decay, based on their time period, and we'll be able to come with, I know you don't want to hear this, but maps and graphs that'll show where the city is, what the condition looks like, and really, based on some of the information and what I found, it was something that we had in 2017, but was turned off because we didn't have someone in the position that could follow through with it. So, to the question if we're going to throw aside, no, ma'am, we are not. Currently in the past, or from what I've seen in the past, we've had a lot of changes in the city, and I'm hoping with me and John and Leroy we can stop that and we can solidify a path, because I know a lot of the council members put time into this, and I want to get us back on that, where even if I leave, there's a plan and it's set aside. So like I said, that will be done on the 19th of this month, and we will be getting the streets updated, and then what that will provide, and I know that I included in a budget summary thing, and you said we haven't started budget, but what this does is I can put a number in there and it will tell me the priorities of the streets that need to be done. So moving on to the agenda item, the presentation. This is a street update from the last time we were here. Mr. King, if there's anything on here, if I go into detail that passes over based on the information I had in last update, just ask me and I'll go over that. As of May 1st, the current street budget is at 24.55% of the budget. Yes, that is an overall budget. That includes everything from capital improvements to our normal maintenance. As you know, you can see it's much less than the 50% mark. A lot of that has to do with the fact that it takes us months to get some of our the capital improvements for the televising, along with the fact that we need to wait to the most prime time for street work, but then COVID happened. So we got sort of in between, because as a city, we wanted to see budget-wise where this would hit, because unfortunately our streets is not where we want to cut, but it has a lot of funding that hasn't been spent or planned to be spent, or not that it hasn't been planned, but it hasn't been negotiated and contracted out. So, you know, that was one thing we've looked at. The next page is, of course, where we lie with our budget. That's pretty much lists everything out there. If anyone has any questions about that, I know it's very small. I can send you updated pictures or whatnot, but really just shows you where our breakdowns are and where we are with our current expenditures. Current projects, we have Alsace Avenue, the Seal Coat Chip Seal RFP, River Bluff, Country Village, additional department updates, which I'll provide in the 2021 budget prep. So I'll go into detail about these current ones. Alsace Avenue, that project started quite a bit ago, in early part of March. We had some issues with it, but we got it going again. We continued work May 7th, and with the help of the county, we finished the base work, and now, God abiding, next week we won't have a ton of rain. We're hoping to get that chip seal started and get that road complete, because I know Mr. Lehman's been very patient with us, and quite a few the church and other entities. But if you haven't seen that road, it's quite an improvement from what it originally was. We're allowing more access on the sides for parking, and then also we upgraded the rock, which wasn't a huge cost difference, so that people, when they're walking, of course, it's a cemetery and then also a church. Unfortunate people are going to funerals and they'll have high heels or something, and there's been a lot of accidents with slipping, so that will prevent that issue. Like I said, versus in our last meeting, we talked about the county's involvement, and we were able to work things out, and they were able to find some time to help us out, and you know, that saved us quite a bit of money on our end. Our relationship with the county is great, and we're moving forward full speed ahead. Of course, they're having their own work to be done, so with that, I hope to continue the good relationship. I'm expecting this to be completed by May 2020, by the end of May 2020, so within the next weeks, depending on the weather and temperatures. Yes, yes. Rain comes at the least. I mean, we always want rain, so yeah. So the seal coat and chip seal RFP, that ties into overall city projects, but the main ones I'm addressing, which I know I'm jumping ahead, is River Bluff and Country Village. Those were done. River Bluff was marked to be done this year. Going off of information I roughly have, like I said, no one was here prior to basically all staff. So we're going off of that, plus also some information provided by the late mayor, and then some of the information Deborah has provided.
May I have to interrupt on that one too? That's another budget item that we'll discuss in scheduling, because if you look at the capital improvement programs through the years in which we have Country Village Streets and River Bluff Streets, that's going to be funded by a bond. So that's something that we probably need to discuss during the budget. Unless you guys have already done the budget amendment to provide for, are you going to redo the streets or just fix them?
Well, pertaining to the budget meeting, I know we'd had a council meeting a few months back on the direction of the street program, and River Bluff was a main priority. Pertaining to the bond issues, I haven't seen any bond-related things for financing for that, and or we were provided prior to the budget. I can definitely look into that to see if there's something that we could have.
Devin, you will find it in all the prior budgets if you look under the capital improvement program. It's a 5-year funding program which has all our capital improvements listed. Councilman King's familiar, he knows, he's been through it also. And it has the funding sources at the bottom, and River Bluff and Country Village are on there for streets and also for electricity, but that's something else. But the funding, that has essential part.
And I can piggyback on that because remember, River Bluff roads do not qualify to do the RFP or any of that because we have too big of dips and everything and will not get a good seal. So our roads have to be broken all the way down and whole new roads laid. That was discussed at last year's budget meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, back to I was instructed by council to focus on the issues in the city, and the main issue that was brought up to me, I believe both Council Lady Martinez and then also the mayor, y'all both pushed for River Bluff. So that's why I was trying. There's, a lot of planning that goes into that, and so that's what we were focusing on that. And pertaining to the bond with Country Village, I'm not quite sure if the current issues that we're facing over there would be covered under that, because it's to fix issues that the prior contractor came in and did. I can provide a detailed report to council if y'all want to scoot down 2 slides. You'll see the current decay of some of the roads in Country Village. But like I said, I'll look into the bond information and see if there was money set aside for that we haven't taken into consideration. But with that, if that is so, then we'll move on from that. But with the RFP, we would need to look, based on the report we have from the 2017 road assessment, it stated that a majority of the roads in River Bluff were to be chip sealed. And then a few were patching and odds and ends stuff. So really this was just to set that aside so that we can move forward on that, because we do have close to $400,000 and funding for streets projects. So with that, once I get that information, I'll be able to provide an update based on that.
Ms. Councilperson Martinez said, very few of the streets in River Bluff area are eligible for chip seal. Chip seal, you don't chip seal old streets. It's just a waste of money. You chip seal decent streets to give longevity to them. But I drove around the streets again today knowing the council meeting's coming up. Seal coats and chip seals don't work on deteriorated streets. You have to go in there and rebuild them. Or what we've been doing with the county about 3 years ago is we were not chip sealing, we were actually going in there and putting asphalt down on top of existing streets, which is another good way of doing it. But I don't think there was bond money